There's a lot of talk about guns these days, and a lot of talk about what ought to be done about them. Here in Canada, the place to start is the Canadian Firearms Centre. After all, this is the place that keeps us safe, right? There's a man from Saskatchewan with a last name that I find hard to pronounce, so I hope I get it right. Gary Brightcrates. He's a member of Parliament for a place called Yorkton Melville. He has an assistant named Dennis Young. The two of them have been after the Firearms Centre and the people who keep us safe for years. You know, just like pit bulls. Gary and Dennis are always doing this thing called an access to information request. It's one of those government things where they have to answer your questions. Anyways, they keep asking questions and they keep getting answers. Like this one time, they asked how many stolen firearms had been registered to new owners after they were stolen. I thought none, because they'd been returned to the rightful owners. Right? Wow, was I ever wrong. The people who keep us safe registered 4,438 stolen firearms to new owners. Like, how is that even possible? I mean, I can sort of understand how they registered, 350 lost guns to new owners, but the stolen ones, I hate to admit it, but it sounds kind of incompetent, doesn't it? But hey, these are the people who keep us safe, so I'm willing to cut them a little bit of slack. How about you? There's this guy living somewhere in Manitoba. He doesn't like the people who keep us safe. He says they're nosy and useless. That's his opinion, and he's entitled to it, I suppose, but it's not very polite. Anyways, he wanted to see just how good the people who keep us safe really were, so he filled out his paperwork and sent it off like a good Canadian. And sure enough, a little while later, he got his registration certificate in the mail. It was for a soldering gun. Gee, I never knew 110 volts AC was a caliber. Did you? I'm sure grateful that the people who keep us safe are there, though, because they sure know a lot more than I do. If it only saves one life, it will be worth it. Anne McClellan, she's my hero. She says this all the time. I remember the time I saw her on TV telling us how great the people who keep us safe were because they were cutting down on the number of people who shot themselves. Wow, that's really awesome. I went to the Statistics Canada website, and sure enough, my Annie was right. They had a category called Suicide by Firearm, and it was way down. And I mean falling, since even before the people who keep us safe got started in Miramichi. But then I looked further, and I saw something that really made me sad. For the same 10-year period, the number of people who hung themselves went way up. Way more than the number of people who shot themselves went down. Hanging yourself must be a really awful way to die, don't you think? But at least they're not using guns to do it, right? My favorite. Which reminds me, there's this boy in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. That's in that area. His name is Billy. He's in grade 2. He was eating lunch one afternoon at school, and he picked up his chicken finger, pointed at the kid beside him, and he said, "Bang!" It's a darn good thing they suspended him from school for that. Can you imagine pointing a chicken finger at somebody? What was he thinking? I went back and visited those guys in Saskatchewan. You know, the ones who don't like the people who keep us safe. Those two guys have been hassling our friends again. They were all proud of themselves for finding out that from January 2000 to March 2002, the people who keep us safe issued a few licenses with the wrong pictures on them. I mean, it was only 259 of them. After all the work those poor people have to do, there's barely an average of 10 mistaken licenses a month. There's this one that I have a hard time figuring out, though. This guy is Toronto's chief of police. He's Italian. The people who keep us safe return his application for more information. I mean, that's just because he listed Italy as his place of birth. That's where he was born, after all. They eventually gave him his firearms license. He is the chief of police, after all. Then I read a really disturbing thing. There's this guy out in Newfoundland, Abraham Zarpa. He's got this thing against him. A prohibition order. Yeah, that's it. A prohibition order. That means he can't own guns. His rule at the police station. He asked for his rifle back. I don't understand it, but the police said that they had to give it to him. Can that be right? They said he qualified for the Aboriginal exception, whatever that is. But what happened is, allegedly, he went to this house from the police station and shot a 15-year-old kid with a gun. I thought that people who keep us safe were supposed to stop this sort of thing. Gary and Dennis say the people who keep us safe make all the gun owners tell them when they move. If they don't, they can get sent to jail for 2 years. Which seems a little weird if what Gary and Dennis say is true about those people with those prohibition things against them. Gary and Dennis say that the people who keep us safe don't keep track of them at all. Anyway, so I got to thinking about those two guys some more, and I thought a little more about what the people who keep us safe were really saying. And something wasn't making sense. So I went and talked to a friend of my dad's. He hunts and he shoots something called an IPSC, whatever that is. I asked him to explain this gun stuff to me because he knows all about it. And he showed me this. And then he showed me what keeps us safe. I realize I'm only a 13-year-old girl, but even I can see that putting one of these beside a gun isn't going to do anything. Which got me to thinking some more. What are those people who keep us safe really up to? Because if all they're doing are these pretty little cards, I'd better go talk to my hero Annie, because she'd be able to explain it way better than me. After all, I'm only a 13-year-old girl. What do I know?